43% of Game Global members tend to get laid on the first date, 30% on the second date, 16% on the third date, 2% on the fourth date, 9% beyond the fourth date. How can other guys get laid on the first date?
I guess I'll go. I'm gonna have to drop off after this question. I set up like sort of like this dating triangle, right, here in Los Angeles, where getting the girl to commit to the first date, right? And I'll say something like, "Hey, there's this great XYZ place, like the Ghost of Marilyn Monroe, visits there. Great drinks, great apps, whatever. Get her out, sitting in some sort of like really comfortable private couch where we'll just get a little bit private talking and start to escalate a little. Now, if there's more than just kissing, like, let that happen, but I'm not gonna press it, right? This is the first sort of like 30 minutes. And then be like, hey, there's a poolside, beautiful tiki torches, DJ, and then I'm gonna move her, right? It's like, down the steps to the poolside, go use the restroom, step out. As I'm waiting for her, I'll just like listen to the music and I'll just sort of like bebop. It's kind of like dance. And the idea is like I'm sexualizing myself so that when she sees me, first time coming out of the restroom, like confident, I'm cool by myself, and hopefully she sees me in a sexual light, right? There, half the time a girl will come up behind me, wrap her arms around me, and I know at that point she's thinking like sexual thoughts, right? And then we'll sit down, little cabana, very private. Now, if we haven't like kissed, now we'll go for that, right? Start to get a little bit more hot and heavy, deeper emotional connection. And then I'll drop the bomb, like usually early in text, like I said earlier, I'll have texted them, hey, send a picture of my dog. It's like, hey, lady says that friends don't let friends drink and drive, right? So I've already seen the dog, see if she's a dog person. It's like, hey, would you like to meet the cutest dog in all of Los Angeles? Of course, they're going to say yes. I'm like, all right, she's over there. Let's go. It's literally within walking distance. I'm like in the heart of Hollywood. Very easy. So that's my triangle. And it's like go to like, I even heard like, celebrities, like a hockey player got caught for having his own little triangle where the girls figure out like exactly which restaurant, which bar, and like the apartment building he was living in. So figure out your logistics. Logistics is half the battle. Amateurs study tactics, but experts study logistics. So anyways, guys, hope that was helpful. I'm going to sign off now. All right. Great
See you,
advice, great
JT.
content for everybody. Thank you,
See you,
and thank you,
brother.
Ice.
Thanks.
Later, guys.
Yeah, very good.
Uh,
Thanks, brother.
Gentlemen, there's a book Ryan Terabane just came out with called "The Value of Others." He has some really great advice, and one of the things I love that he says is he goes, a date is a meetup and an opportunity for sex. If a girl is like, hey, let's meet up at noon, an hour away from your place for coffee, that's a meetup, but it's not an opportunity for sex. So just like what JT says, I think if you guys wanted to have sex earlier in the interaction, like for instance, I'm going out this week with these two girls are going on a date with me, and we're meeting at Katana, which is across the street from the Mondrian in Los Angeles. So I specifically picked a restaurant that's across the street from where I'm staying. And then there's also like a huge party that we're doing on Thursday, this huge breast cancer charity at the Sky Bar. And then I have a room overlooking the Sky Bar. So logistics are incredible. Like logistics are so good that a lot of times when a girl goes on a date with you, she'll know if she isn't going to have sex with you. I ask girls on my show on Access Vegas, I'm like, ladies, how many of you have gone on a date with a guy you knew you weren't going to have sex with him? And all of them raised their hand. At some point, they had done that once, which is crazy. It's very foreign to a guy. But a lot of times, if your logistics are good and your game is good, you can take a woman who like had no intent, not she didn't want to have sex with you, but she had no intention of having sex with you. And then she's like, her buying temperature and her state is so pumped up that she ends up having sex with you because she's having such a great time. There's this massive state break that happens when you go from the fun location to the hour-long drive back to your ranch. The hour-long drive, you go from the strip in Las Vegas to the 45-minute drive to like, Red Rock Canyon. Like I logistics are so incredibly important. In my bedroom, if I open up the blinds, I can see Aria, Cosmopolitan, Bellagio. I can see the wind from my bedroom. And so a lot of times a girl is like, it's this one of these things where like she feels safe. She's like, oh, my friends are over here at this place and I'm just right there. So logistics are really, really important, and they can actually trump a lot of times game when it comes to the the late game when it comes to closing. So I would recommend logistics. And the other thing is this one, man. A lot of these guys are asking this question. Your apartment smells like Chipotle. You have fucking weird ass bowls of nasty shit all over the place. You cooked beans and bacon and fucking eggs. It smells like egg farts in your apartment. You have a roommate who cooks he's like eating paleo. He's like training for a workout thing, and he cooks the nastiest smelling shit right before the girls come over. You got cats or dogs that peed and poop in your apartment. You can't smell the shit anymore. Your room is not made up. You have fucking like half-drank bottles of water and energy drinks all over your apartment, along with, like I said, like bowls of food and takeout shit, like bags full of trash in your apartment. That's and so two things are happening. If a girl comes over, she doesn't want to fuck, but also in your mind, you know your apartment isn't ready for fucking. So you don't bring girls back because you aren't ready, because you didn't mentally prepare yourself for that thing. I leave here, my apartment looks like a fucking U.S. military sergeant. When I leave, we're ready for when she comes back. And if I even have my neighbor, I'll tell him, be like, hey, light all the candles in my apartment before it comes over. I got a lighting set up. You can see the whole strip of Las Vegas. If you don't mentally, the part of making your bed is you mentally are preparing yourself to bring girls home. I had one client, he was staying with me for a while, and he was having troubles. Like, yeah, I'm not bringing these girls home. And I went out with him one time, and I was like, there's no problem with the game. And then I looked in his room, and there's just shit everywhere. And I was like, you can't pull a girl home, so you leave your room looking like shit. That's another big issue. You're not mentally preparing yourself for success, because your place is not ready for your apartment is not the fuck zone. You know it isn't, and you're either mentally sabotaging yourself, or because you know you're not setting your place up for success. You know you can't pull a girl back anyway.
All right, what was the question? How to close on the first night? Is that right, us?
Yeah, basically more guys.
So yeah, I think
on first date,
guys.
it's
Okay.
such a
Yeah,
huge
all right. So
delay.
yeah, your
would
close
be
rate should be like fucking at least 80%, right? Nah, you're right, bro. You're right. So yeah, your close rate should be like fucking 80%, like at least. Like if you're going on a date with a girl, you already have attraction, she's already into you. You should be making this happen. And so there's a few things you have to do. I agree, logistics are important. It's going to make things way easier. But dude, I used to live an hour from the city, and we're pulling girls like an hour away. So it's like definitely important. But I think like the biggest things are, number one, sexualizing the interaction, sexualizing the conversation. Make it clear what's happening later, or at least like have that plausible ability there for her. Not thinking like, oh, this is completely just friends. This is like all it's going to be. And then you, at the end of the day, you're like, let's come back to mine and see what happens. And the girl's just not prepared, right? So sexualize the conversation. You want to seed the pool. So that goes back to the previous point. Make it clear early on in the interaction. Hey, later on, okay, we're going to go for a drink at mine. So now, if there is something that's going to stop you, like an obstacle, concern, objection, comes up early, and you have time to deal with it without feeling like rushed or needy or pressured. So maybe she says like, I've got a dog at home I need to feed. Maybe she says I've got work in the morning. Maybe she's on a period. Like these are all really important things to get early. And then the last point here is you have to get good at dealing with these concerns, okay? A girl can be attracted to you. She can be into you. But again, these reasons where girls aren't ready to sleep with you, it might be because they have a rule and sleep with guys on the first night. It might be that she has work in the morning. So you need to fish for that, get it out early, and then deal with it. So just simply asking why, right? Why can't you come for a drink at mine? And if she says, I've got work, deal with it. Hey, listen, I've got work early too. I start at 7. I will make sure you get home in time. If she's got a period, tell her you don't give a fuck. Or if it's like, hey, I don't sleep with guys on the first night, there's plenty of ways to deal with this. I like to just agree with the fucking girl. I'd be like, yeah, that's actually a really good rule to have. Right? I think that's awesome. To be honest, like if I was a girl, I would have that rule. Most guys are fucking rubbish in bed. They can't even make you come once, let alone like 5-6 times. Okay. They are either really needy and like blow up your phone and never leave you alone, or they just want to fuck you and they don't give a shit. Right. If I was you, I would wait too. Okay. But listen, that's with every other fucking guy. Okay. Not me. All right. With us, we can have a lot of fun tonight. Right. And if I like you in this chemistry, of course, I'm going to want to see you again. So there's ways to deal with this. You just have to get good at that ejection handling, sexualize, see the pull, and you'll deal with a lot of issues that you're facing.
I don't want to spoil the debate that's coming up between me and Marcus and a few others. But
Started early.
so yeah, no, we won't get into too much debate here, but I'm just going to say this for guys that are looking to get laid on the first date. First of all, be prepared to burn through a bunch of great opportunities with women that you could have had a shot with had you played solid game. So that's number one. Be prepared to do that. Number two, I do agree that if that is what you want, you need to somewhat sexualize an interaction early. I'm a big fan of sexual subcommunication to sort of test the waters, where I may talk about something more benign, but underneath, brewing beneath the surface, there's a little bit of sexual energy leaking out of me. You do want to find out logistics early on, because if she can't go home with you that night, and that's really what your goal is, you're going to want to burn that opportunity earlier and then move on to your next one, right? I don't think that logistics are always handled logistically, though. I think that if you run solid game and she starts to like you, all of a sudden her logistics get better. Maybe her friend can drive the rest of the group home, right? Maybe she doesn't have to be into work quite so early tomorrow. So I will sexualize early. I will seed. I'll find out logistics. But first of all, guys that want to get laid on the first date, be prepared to fuck up a bunch of great opportunities. We'll save the rest for debate time.
Yeah, I think you're completely fucking wrong, but we'll debate that later.
Sounds good.
Well, Eric,
I think there's like we can do Schrodinger's cat here. Like I think because I was listening to both of your ideas here, and this is kind of what I think. I let her sexualize things. So it's kind of what Marcus is saying, because Marcus wants to sexualize things. And what Eric is saying is if you over sexualize things, then you could blow out the interaction. And I see both of your points. What I want to do is get her to sexualize things. So if she sexualizes things, then it's not going to blow out the interaction, even if we don't sleep together. And I'm always asking for compliance. So I don't need, so people talk about IOIs. I don't believe, this is where me and Mystery disagree. I don't believe in IOIs. I believe in IOCs. I want indicators of compliance. She followed me back to my place. She took her shoes off. She got in my bed. These are indicators of compliance. At that point, Eric, if I have a girl in my bed, she's taking her shoes off and she's laying next to me, cuddle to me. If I go for make a move to try to have sex with her on the first date, there's nothing weird about that. She's not, in fact, she's going to hang out with me. Even if she doesn't want to have sex with me, it's not going to blow out the date. So I think there's a way to do what both of you guys are saying, where you still play good game, you don't blow out the set, and at the same time, you can have sex on the first date. I think
yeah, I mean, it's about knowing how to sexualize well. Like the problem is when people hear sexualizing, they think it's, oh, I need to like make out with this girl or I need to touch her. Okay. Like that's when I say sexualizing, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about creating a sexual vibe, building tension, and sexually like DHVing, right? So similar to what Michael's saying is like, yeah, getting the girl to sexualize, essentially like getting you to invest in that, getting you to chase through that. So yeah, obviously like someone talked about autistic game earlier. Like if you start to sexualize and build sexual tension with this girl and you notice she's uncomfortable about that, you're not just going to push through and blow it out and you're like, fuck, I missed an opportunity. You're actually going to sit there and think, okay, I've lost compliance, right? I don't have compliance to this action. What is the reason behind this? Is it a limiting belief? Is it that I just don't have enough attraction? So to Eric's point, I want to go back, build that attraction, and suddenly like logistics change. Suddenly her opinions around should this be a more sexualized interaction? Should I sleep with him might change. So anyway, we'll save.
Yeah,
we'll save.
Guys, we could do all discussion on this because I'm sure Marcus has some great techniques on this too. I am a big fan of making her getting her to turn things sexual. You can get away with so much more. Like I love to play innocent. I do this thing sometimes where I'm like hanging out with a bunch of girls and I'm like, these women are just, I'll have a video up. These women are just trying to use me for sex. And they'll literally just grab my dick. Like they turn things sexual. I found that when you turn things sexual, you get both things. You get to play solid game and get laid on the first date. So that's what I really like to do. Also, women, having multiple women around because they're competing for your attention, they will turn things sexual quicker. If you guys want great examples of me getting girls to turn things sexual, watch my panel show, Access Vegas. I'm really good at getting the girls to turn things sexual, so they can never say that I did any of that shit. One of my favorite questions to ask girls all the time, I said, like, be real. Like, what did your boyfriend do to make you cheat on him? Ask girls this, what did we know it's his fault. What did your boyfriend do to make you cheat on him? And she'll turn things sexual from there. But that's one thing I really, really like to do, because you get to do both. I really do feel like you can get to do both, because I want a situation where if I let a girl know I want to have sex with her and she's just not comfortable in the moment, I don't want to blow it out to where I don't see her again. And at the same time, I do expect the vast majority of the time I'm going to have sex on the first date.
All right, well,
getting the woman to sexualize the interaction early on night one, it's doable, but sometimes it's difficult to evoke that sexuality and get those sexual IOIs or IOCs, as you call them.
Yeah.
I like that. You know, Mystery will tell you too that an IOI is an indicator of compliance too. So they are kind of one and the same. But I've found that for night one, if that's really what I'm going for, I often have to strike first with a little bit of sexuality. I'm going to throw a sexual wrench into the gears to see how she reacts to it. If I can get her to do it first, great. You know, I've just found that when I play a solid game, when I draw things out a little bit more, that's when I'm going to get the sexual IOIs evoked. That's when she's going to sort of sexualize. If I slow it down, she'll speed it up, right?
Or another idea is just play the complete opposite. I'm a puritanical Christian. I think sex is completely disgusting. I can't believe people have sex. You heard what Marcus said before. He goes, most guys are terrible in bed. I would say something like, yeah, most guys are terrible in bed anyway. I don't know how you guys ever have sex with guys. Women are disgusting, or like men are disgusting. Sex is gross. And the girl will stop and be like, no, I fucking love sex. I love now she just turned things sexual. I'll do that too. I'll play innocent or naive sometimes, or I'll make it really funny, or I'll push in the opposite direction. Or like I said before, like a scoundrel, like, what did he do to make you cheat on him? And she'll go over. I like to do things, play these games to make her make it sexual. Because as long as she made the first move, you just have this carte blanche to go as far as you want. And then it's next thing you know, you're like, you guys are in a unisex bathroom having sex, like right after you just met her. Like that's the thing that happens. But I like to let her do it because it's when she does it, I have to worry so much less about calibration when she's the one making things sexual.
yeah, I think I think you're leading. What's the saying? Like leading the horse to water or some shit, right? Leading the girl to your dick. It's yeah, like I think you're still making the move there, but it just to the goal doesn't feel that way.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's essentially like you are making it sexual. Like, hey, what made your boyfriend cheat on you? Like that's a slightly sexualized conversation, but it's like 1%, and then she goes 5%, and then you go 6%, and then she goes 10. So I like to see it as, yes, I'm leading this interaction. I'm moving it towards that angle, but it never feels like the girl can never turn around and be like, that's too much, right? So I would start with like, hey, what's the type of guy you're into? And then I'll tell her like, no, I think you'd probably prefer this type of guy. She's like, oh my God, you're right. Now I have some authority. And then I'd like start asking some more questions, kind of lead her there. So yeah, I think there's like a right way to go about this that builds a lot of sexual attraction. You can have these conversations and the girl can leave that conversation thinking like, fuck, this guy gets it. Okay. He's not trying to make out with him. He's not trying to like fucking grab my pussy just yet, but he gets it, right? He understands me, and he's probably going to be really good in bed if he understands all these things. And so girls will, yeah, they'll chase after that. They'll want that. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to get into this too much. We'll chat about this in a few days' time. And
yeah, I'm confused. Can I interrupt for a second? Do you guys ever have negative experiences or see anything wrong with a woman who, out of the bajillion guys of the planet, she could choose to be in a room alone with, or in a restaurant at a table alone with? Any resistance to you bringing it, like making it sexual? I can't even fathom that there would be pushback for a girl who did spend 2 hours getting ready for you, put on her heels, are uncomfortable as fuck to walk in, her makeup, blew out her hair, did whatever to show up to meet you, and assuming she's not ugly as fuck, had unlimited other options, and she's gonna be weirded out when you make things sexual.
Yeah,
maybe I'm not
100%.
Following, but
yeah, no, 100%. There'll be different
you
reasons.
get pushback on that.
Hey,
it's
people
not
get
pushback,
pushback 100%. You know, 100%. You will, because
sure.
Can
you elaborate?
Right?
Because
Yeah,
I don't think
100%.
I've ever experienced that.
100%. Okay. So if a girl is really, really into a guy, okay, she's like, this is the coolest guy I've ever fucking met in my entire life. Okay. And then he starts making it sexual. She might think like, holy fuck, I don't want to ruin this. Okay. I don't want to act like a fucking whore right now, because if he just sees me as that, maybe he just wants to have sex with me once and never see me again. This is really prominent in Eastern Europe. Okay. Like, damn, I'm going to pretend to be such a good girl because I think that's what most guys like. So you might get initial pushback there, and then you might have to be very clear. Listen, okay, I would say something like, listen, I'm Australian. All right. I think women are awesome when they're very open-minded. This is one thing I value. Okay. I think you should be honest, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't think you should care what anyone else thinks. Right. So that's one way to deal with like that one little objection. Other girls, it's yeah, so you have the whole like I think is really awesome. Some girls it's a slut shame thing. Like they just brought up thinking sex is bad and they have like really limiting views around this. So teaching them that like sex isn't bad. Okay, you can have it, you can enjoy it, blah blah. Other girls are worried about just never seeing the guy again. So if I have sex with him, I give away my power, which is like a lot of times true. And they use it as like a game tactic. They're taught this in fucking online books and shit. So maybe they're thinking like, hey on, I'm gonna play this a little bit and I'm gonna try making chase, right? And that way, maybe I'll get to see him a few more times. And so yeah, you'll face all of these like little objections and shit. I agree with you. She's not gonna reject the idea because she's not into you.
Like, I think it'd be weird if you didn't sexualize it. That would be what would make it awkward. That would blow it out.
Yeah, like my huge thing is sexualizing. My like the number one attraction trigger I think you can show for most men is sexual authority. I also do sex coaching. I run like BDSM workshops. I'm all about sexualizing.
That's awesome.
But I think it's important to know that there are going to be like certain levels of pushback there, and there's ways to deal with those though.
Maybe it's because my style, even from the initial beginning, from the texting and stuff, is very romantic. You could say like lover boy game. So she's not thinking. I mean, she always has the thought in the back of her head, like the what if and the anxiety. But she's not, at least as much with probably with other guys, she's not worrying about, oh, he just wants to fuck me one time and then leave. In Latin culture, especially where I live in Brazil now, I'm actually leaving Brazil, but where I live, the flake rate, if no one's ever lived in Brazil for a while or traveled to Brazil and stayed here for a significant time, you guys cannot imagine the flake rate here. I don't care what you think about any other market. I've picked up girls from Tennessee to Taipei, from California to Kenya at this point. I know every fucking dating market in and out. Nothing can compare to the flakiness of a Brazilian girl. So I got really, really good at my qualification. I got really, really good at making them feel special. There's something about our chemistry, our understanding, our sense of humor. We both hate wokies and we're going to make dark jokes about eating babies, like whatever the fuck it is. There's something about our unique chemistry. And I found that reduced my flake rate a lot. And then also Brazil's a very, very sexual culture too. And I don't think I fucked a true like American girl since like 2016. I think that's the last time I put my dick, maybe like 2018 once. Anyway, I digress, but so maybe like in Latin, what'd you say?
I say congratulations. That's I'm happy for you.
You're clean now. You're absolved. You're clean. You're pure now. Yeah. You don't have all our fucking cholesterol and our high sodium content and our wokeness. Yeah, it's good job.
Yeah, the seed oils. But I don't know. I'm off on a tangent a little bit, but yeah, part of it is dating market, and like I'll say things outright to girls. Again, it's also Latin culture. They're more submissive. They respond better to dominant men. But I'll say things to a girl like out of the blue. Like we'll be eating. I'm like, how do you like your mac and cheese? Oh, it's good. Okay, cool. Well, what if this? What if I just treated you like a delicate, sweet little princess in the streets, but like my dirty little sex slave in the bedroom? How would you like that? And they just get like, you see like their eyes just like they won the lottery, like they know they have a winning lottery ticket, but they don't want anybody else. Like that's their reaction. And I don't know. I'll leave it open to some conversations.
I agree. Like it's going to be similar in Eastern Europe. Women respond really, really strongly to dominance there. So yeah, I mean, look, you're probably going to still, I imagine, like you could let us know, you're probably going to still face some girls that are like, oh my gosh, no, I'm not sure, and blah, blah. But yeah, for the most part, if you can display dominance with like South American girls, with Eastern European girls, that's going to like trump a lot of other things. And I think like you're missing an opportunity if you don't do that. I think there's like ways to transition in that, which you're probably using, and there's ways to make it smooth. But yeah, like being able to demonstrate that, I think is like a game changer. There's a lot of guys missing with these.
It has to be balanced out with like the hardcore qualification. And like I don't want to say lover boy game, because I know that lover boy can mean like other shady things now. Apparently these, whatever you want to call it, the romantic style game. I think it's very well balanced by that. I don't think that she's thinking, at least as high as other guys, that I just want to fuck her once and then leave her. I think that has to be balanced out. I think that's kind of the key.
So Casey, let me just ask you a quick question, because I just want to clarify. So you've never sexualized an interaction and gotten pushback from it?
Not on a date. Or put it this way, like maybe I've had like bad first dates, but I wouldn't say that was like per se the reason. Like it was going great until I tried to kiss her, then it got weird. And I've never had that.
Okay, because I feel like that's a pretty universal hurdle for men to get over, whether a dating coach, a newbie, an intermediate. We've all sort of gone for the kiss a little too soon, said a little something that was over the line. So yeah, I'm just trying to get some
No, I mean,
clarity on
I'm
that.
sure I've done that, but just not typically on a date, right? And in cold approach situations, yeah, I'm sure I fucked it up by moving things forward too quickly all the time. But a date is different because again, and I do a lot of voice notes. I always do a video call. I'm super good. I can qualify a girl on anything. I can say, what's your favorite color? White or black? I can qualify like both, like opposite end of the spectrum. I can find a
You're
reason.
racist, no matter what you
Yeah,
say. You're
exactly,
racist.
right?
No matter
Yeah,
what.
I mean, it
All right,
sounds
so
like you're
a fucking
building
bigot.
up in text, right? So like
What'd you
you
say?
have a really you're building up in text. Like before these girls get on the date, they're pretty down. Like for instance, like I've done, I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of like straight to the home dates. I've never had an issue ever, right? Like these girls come over in lingerie. I'm usually sexting them beforehand. Like you're never gonna fucking face an issue there, of course. So I think like the amount of like pre-game or whatever you want to call it, there could be an argument to strengthen Eric's point that maybe it is already long game. Maybe you already have been texting him for a little bit. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, like these things we can test. It's like saying like, have you ever got pushback from like seating the pool and trying to pull? Does that mean you like stop trying to do it? No, you see the pool, figure out the ejection. I think it's the same thing with sexualizing. Like you sexualize, if there's like slight pushback, you just pull back a little bit, figure out what it is. And the earlier you do that, the more time you have to do it. But anyway, well, I think this is turning into the debate instead of in 2 days.
Yeah,
time.
sorry, I didn't mean to ruin you guys' next content.
Yeah.
Good getting your
No, go.
opinion.
Well, one thing I wanted to say too, maybe this will be, I don't know, since I'll try to change the subject slightly, but not entirely. What I was going to say, something controversial is, and probably most of the guys listening to this podcast whenever it comes out or this YouTube video may not be in the situation, but for like at least every guy on the panel will understand this. In many circumstances, a lot of nuance to this, so don't get too literally, but in many circumstances, you shouldn't try too hard to get laid on the first date per se, because those are sometimes the lower quality girls. When I think back to like the few times that I've laid like true nines, like actual hardcore nines in her worst photo by anyone's standards, like the ones that even like are rare for guys like us, it was almost never on the first night. These girls are just, they have higher standards, they're pickier, they're more picky about who they're going to let get on top of them and flop around for a bit. And because they're going to make you wait. So I find that for the higher quality, more beautiful, and again, there's so much nuance. Like, are you a tall, good looking white guy in the Philippines? Okay. You can, it's like that new Tinder meme that came out. It's like popular on Reddit where like the Chad said in his profile, he just got out of jail for abusing women. Like you could be that guy. You could open with, hey, I just got out of jail for, beating a woman. But tall white guy in the Philippines, you're still going to lay it on the first day. But I would argue that a lot of times you shouldn't try because it means you're going after low quality girls in some circumstances.
I don't know. I'm curious what Michael thinks here. Like I've pretty much like most of the girls I've ever slept with has been very early, like almost mostly first night. And I'm just trying to think if I get more, like if it's more difficult with hotter girls. I think it's more difficult to build attraction with hotter girls, obviously. But when it comes to like objections, I think it's more just like cultural. Like I find in America, girls are like they could be super hot, but they're just like down first night. It's like culturally acceptable. Whereas like you go to Ukraine, right? Or maybe not now, but a few years ago. Like trying to
I have safety. Come with me. I have safety.
Exactly. It's
it's easy to pull to a bomb shelter. If you want to set up logistics, just find the nearest bomb shelter. It's easy to pull. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that.
The ratio that's pretty bad, too many dudes. But you can
cut that part
Eastern
out.
Eastern Europe, sorry, there's like a lot of rejection. So you could have like a average Polish girl, right? Like 7 out of 10 or whatever. And she'll give a lot of, I don't do this. This is not fair. And they are a lot harder to close than like a 10 in America. So I think it is more like culturally as opposed to looks I've kind of noticed. But yeah, I guess maybe in America, like hotter girls might be like slightly more difficult or more picky or whatever it is. But yeah, for me, it's like very much cultural.
So going back to what you said before, it definitely cultural. So I'm only talking to American girls, so I have to swim through this fucking ocean of obesity and what's it called? The these girls feel like
Burgers and
entitlement.
fries.
It's ridiculous levels of entitlement. I still agree that they'll have sex on the first date, but it's just like, it's going back to what you said before, Casey. Like for me, I almost exclusively go out with girls. Maybe you guys wouldn't think they're 10s, but they get attention like they're 10s, meaning these are girls that have 3-4 million followers on Instagram, stuff like that, or girls that are very, very hard to get their attention. And in these situations, when I let them make things sexual, or if I have the bigger, better deal, or if they feel enough psychological pressure from other women like approving of me through pre-selection or mate choice copying, those are the times when I end up sleeping with the girls who are 10s on the first date. That's usually what happens. But like what Marcus is talking about before, I'm usually talking to girls who initially don't like me, and I make them like me. I generate attraction through different cues in evolutionary psychology. So from that standpoint, while I definitely agree that if I went through and made every date sexual, I would definitely have some success. There are some girls who are so entitled that it's much easier for me to let them make things sexual, and then for them to also see that my ex-girlfriend was like a world-class bikini model. That also helps me with them. So I'm basically, if you guys are on a date with a girl, you've been texting her and things are sexual, she's kind of letting you know she already likes you before the date. Casey, I've been on dates with girls where like the girl, like in her mind, I have no shot because she's so fucking, in her mind, she's so entitled and attractive. It's just an American thing. And even then I'll end up sleeping with her on the first date because she's like, wow, I didn't realize how scarce this guy was, or what I had to do to keep his attention. So that's the only reason why I would say I don't try to make things overtly sexual on the first date.
So first of all, I don't think that a woman hooking up early says anything about her quote unquote quality, right? I just don't think through that frame. I've met great women that wanted to withhold and wait on sex. I've met great women that wanted to have sex quickly. So a woman's, sexual, a woman's sexual promiscuity is not something that I'm judging, right? Number two, Michael brings up a good point. It's not whether she's a mid girl or like a super hot girl, right? That's another frame that I try not to get into, but it's what she thinks of herself. There's evolutionary psychology that has shown that when a woman thinks that she's more attractive relative to other women, she behaves differently when selecting mates. And there's a whole bunch of nuance to get into on that. So it's not necessarily, is she a 10? It's, does she think she's a 10, or does she think compared to other women that she's a higher ranking woman? That's when you're going to see some behavioral differences. Again, I want to save maybe some of this stuff for the debate, but
yeah. The thing is, guys, if I was going to rate women, I don't rate them on their physical attractiveness anymore. I rate them on the level of stimulus they need. And because I live in Las Vegas and I spend a lot of time in Los Angeles, the women I'm around need so much fucking stimulus that it works against you if you don't have the stimulus to provide them. But if you do, or if you know how to create it, then it works very much in your favor. My ex-girlfriend, she was a bikini model from Frog Level, Arkansas, that did not have an Instagram, and she was 20 years old when I met her. So very, extremely attractive, extremely low levels of stimulus that she needed. And that's why it worked for us for 2 years. With other girls, it's like, I know very quickly, like insanely hot. I know that if I always have the key to the VIP, I always know the best parties to go to. I'm going to be able to sleep with this girl very easily. But I also know her necessity for stimulus makes her a very poor partner long-term.
Interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. And also I think our perspectives are a bit different. I think we're operating at a bit of a different level. I think we're closing on the first date a lot more than the average guy. But yeah. And when I said high quality, I meant more on looks, but I do look at like personality and all that stuff now, especially now I'm 36. I'm getting old, so I need to make a baby within the next 4 years. So I really got to pay attention to all that stuff.
I'm engaged, man. I'm hoping for that in the next few years as well. So a lot of what I'm talking about has been my experience in the past. So when I speak in present tense, really, I'm putting myself in the past and remembering what it was like in that present moment. So I am typically not going for it on the first night. I'm open-minded to it. When I go into an interaction, when she's ready, she's ready. If she's ready and I'm ready and it's night one, I'm open to it, right? I've just found that generally speaking, it's not the way to go. My goal is not, how do I get this woman on night one? So that's another piece of advice I would give guys watching this that want to know, how can they get more hookups on night one, it's kind of, don't have that idea so fixed in your mind. You know, focus on playing the game. And if it happens to be night one, great. And if it doesn't, well, you're probably falling into a better pattern, in my opinion, anyway. And again, no judgment toward the women that want to do it on night one. No judgment towards guys that want to do it on night one.
Feel slut shamed.
I've just, yeah,
Okay.
no slut shaming. Exactly.
Marcus, I can't believe you
feel-
want to have sex with women on the first night.
Listen,
I'm going to
this is
slut
fucked
shame
up.
you. I can't
I
believe
thought
you would
this was
do
a
that.
safe space.
That's so crazy. I thought it was a safe place.
This is, I'm going to go cry in the corner.
Yes,
This is-
listen, dude.
Thanks, Eric.
Listen, I have game. I'm a pretty fucking cool guy. If a girl wants to sleep with me on the first date and I'm the first guy she's ever slept with on the first date, I'm used to it. Like they should. I'm pretty awesome. I don't blame women for not wanting to have sex with men on the first date because most dudes are fucking weird and I'm not. So that it's not confusing to me.